If I had to pick what I thought was the greatest dessert, it would no doubt be a chocolate cream pie. A homemade chocolate cream pie. From the no-roll pie crust, to the chocolate custard, to the sweetened whipped cream topping, we're making it all today, from scratch. Don't get worried. You're gonna be blown away by how simple this is. Oh. We're gonna take our recipe one step at a time. First step is our pie crust. Are you gonna buy a pie crust? Which you totally can. Buy a regular pie crust for a 9-inch pan. Or you can make your own pie crust. Now watch me, then you decide. You're gonna be blown away about how easy this is. This crust tastes like almost like a shortbread cookie. So first step, we're gonna put a cup and a half of flour into our bowl. So after the cup and a half of flour, we're gonna put in a teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar. All right, so get a fork and blend these together really well before we add our wet ingredients. All right, so the wet ingredients for our pie crust is going to be a half a cup of vegetable oil and 2 tablespoons of cold milk. I'm using whole milk. We're gonna whisk those together before we add them into our dry ingredients. All right, half a cup of oil, 2 tablespoons cold milk. I'm using whole milk. All right, grab the whisk. Get this blended really well before you add it to the dry ingredients. So we're gonna add the milk and oil to our dry ingredients, and then we're going to blend it with a fork until the dough forms. It's getting thicker and thicker. All the wet ingredients is absorbing the dry ingredients. We're making a great dough here. Keep going though. Keep mixing until like there's no flour mixture left, no dry ingredients left. All right. Now we need a 9-inch baking plate. So we're gonna put our dough into our baking plate and then press it against the bottom and up the sides like you're making your pie crust. All right, it's like playing with Play-Doh. Squish it down. Squish it onto the sides. This feels like that kinetic sand that Ellie used to play with, that used to get all on the carpet. All right, now make sure you're not leaving the crust too thickened in the area. Smooth it out, especially where it kind of comes up the side. I tend to leave it a little thicker there. I don't intend to, I just do. I'm trying to make sure I don't do it this time. The dough's gonna come up just right to the top of your dish. It's not gonna be overflowing. It's not like something you're gonna have to trim here. Getting a little aggressive with it. All right, I've got my pie crust formed in my baking plate. We've got to bake this, but before we bake it, we're gonna take a fork and poke holes all through the bottom, all on the sides, all right? So get your fork out and start poking. I think I poked it enough. All right, so oven is preheated at 425 degrees. We're gonna put it in for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, I check mine after 10 minutes. The sides start getting a little brown, a little golden, which is what we want. But just after 10 minutes, keep an eye on it. You don't want it to get too brown on the sides, okay? Our next step is to make the chocolate custard. We're gonna take a medium saucepan and combine our dry ingredients in here first before adding any heat. So we're gonna start with 1.5 cups of sugar. Next up, we have 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. The cornstarch and the egg yolks is what's gonna help keep our custard thick. All right, last bit of the dry ingredients here is going to be 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So go ahead and combine the dry ingredients really well. Let's start with our wet ingredients. First up is 2 2/3 cups cold whole milk. Now we have 1/2 cup of heavy cream. At this point, go ahead and turn your heat on to medium. We're gonna bring this up to a boil, but we wanna do it slowly because we're about to add in our egg yolks and we don't want scrambled eggs. All right, so we have 5 egg yolks. They've been beaten, okay? So once the eggs go in, we got to keep stirring our mixture here constantly. I mean, the bottoms, the sides, everything. We don't want the eggs to stick and start cooking. So I'm using a wooden spoon. A whisk would probably be better at this point. But I think mine's in the dishwasher. Like I said, stir constantly. Don't stop stirring. I've been here for what feels like an eternity. But finally, I'm starting to get thick here with my custard, all right? And once it starts boiling, once it gets really thick, turn the heat down. Now we're gonna add in our chocolate, all right? We want 6 ounces of chocolate. I use dark chocolate, the like 60% cacao, 73% cacao, good chocolate bar, all right? You could use chocolate chips, but they have stabilizers in them, so it may make your custard a little thicker. All right, so here we go with our chocolate. 6 ounces. It's gonna go in. I'm gonna follow that with 4 ounces of butter. And I cubed it too. That'll just help it melt faster. Last ingredient we're gonna work with here is 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, keep stirring. Get the chocolate melted, get the butter melted. Ooh. This is the best part right here. It smells like a chocolate factory. All right, whisk, stir, keep moving. So the chocolate's pretty much melted. I'm going to take it off the heat completely. I'm gonna keep stirring. All right, so the custard is finished. We're gonna let it cool a bit. While it's cooling, we're gonna work on our whipped cream. So while we wait for our pie crust and our custard to cool, we're gonna make our whipped cream. That's our topping. We need 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. We're also gonna need 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, and then 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're gonna whip the topping. Don't be scared of this. You used to lick these when your mom would make something as a kid. You'd probably fight with your brother or your sister. I know I would. Start at a medium speed here. Just until we get all the ingredients combined. Then we can step it up a little bit. And when we begin to see the soft peaks forming, we're going to turn our mixture down a little bit. It can take a while. All right, now I have soft peaks forming, so I'm going to turn the mixture down a little lower just to finish up. Look at that. Beautiful whipped cream. You can spread this on top of the pie when it's ready. Now, I'm gonna try to get fancy and put it in a piping bag and make little clouds on top of it. My piping skills suck, so no promises how it's gonna look. All right. So while we wait for the pie crust to finish cooling and the custard to finish cooling, let's put some plastic wrap over our whipped cream, pop it in the fridge, all right? Once everything's cool, we'll combine all the parts of our pie and we'll be done. All right, so our pie shell is completely cool. I let our custard cool a little bit, like 10-15 minutes while I was making our whipped cream. So listen, I'm gonna put the custard into the pie filling, and then once that's in, we'll put it in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 hours to set, and then we'll take it out, we'll put our whipped topping on, and we'll call it a day. You may have more custard than you do room in your pie filling. That's all right. Oh man, that looks so good. Beautiful. All right. So I didn't quite use all my custard, most of it. So we want to smooth it down on the top. Let's put plastic wrap on the top. Then we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it set for like 3 to 4 hours. Okay, pie is set. All we have to do now is put our whipped cream topping on. You can make life really simple for yourself by just getting a spatula and putting it on top. I'm going to be a little extra and use a piping bag and try to make little cloud forms of whipped cream on top. I have zero artistic capability, so we're going to see how this goes. This is harder than it looks. And that's a wrap on chocolate cream pie. It's amazing something this gorgeous is as simple as it is to make. Now, I know my piping skills need some work, but all in all, I think it looks pretty dang good. If you didn't try the homemade pie crust this time, give it a shot next time. For as little effort as it is to make, it'll knock the socks off your friends and family when you walk in with a homemade pie crust. Remember to leave me a thumbs up down below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, watch these videos, and I'll see you next time.